Hey there, Bowflex Barbie here, your host of the Flex Pretty podcast. And just like every other episode, I've got an amazing guest with me today. She is a longtime supporter, friend, and she is Indera Gibson. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's been a while. We've been catching up a little bit off camera, but it's so good to have you.
It is so good to be
invited. So good to chat with you. I feel like we've never really had like sit down conversations for real. Like we've always kind of just chatted in person a little bit here and there at the gym, or like gone back and forth online a little bit, kikiing. But so I'm excited. Just from what we started talking about off camera, I'm excited just to hear your story a bit more, and learn a bit more from you about you. Have your insights on stuff. So for those who don't know you, we're going to dive in. Tell us about Indera. Who's Indera? What do you do? You know, all that good stuff.
Well, my name is Indera Gibson. I am the Director of Finance at Island House. And I think the biggest part of me is a fitness junkie. Mm-hmm. I am a mom, and I am a girlfriend, and I am a best friend, and I am an aunt, and I am so many things.
You're a Zeta.
I am. Mm-hmm. I am. And all of these things make me so unique and different, but still very much figuring things out as I go. So the last, I want to say 2 years of my life have been so interesting. I lie. The last 4 years of my life has been so interesting because fitness has taken me on such an interesting journey. So, yeah, that's who Indera is.
Okay, so let's talk about fitness. I know you shared a little bit about your story on what was Morning Moves, transition to Let's Move. I don't know which one it was when you came on, but you talked a bit about your story and your journey of getting into fitness and I guess your relationship with fitness. So talk to me about that. Like, were you like athletic as a child? Like, were you always into like some sort of activity, or like when did you decide I want to get into like fitness, and what did that look like?
Well, as a child, I want to say I was very athletic. I wasn't really great at anything, but
it's the self-awareness. Okay.
I have to be honest.
Okay.
So when I was a child, I started off playing every sport.
Okay.
So there wasn't a government high school sport that I didn't play. And then as I went into, so I started off in primary school and I played volleyball, I played softball, I played soccer. And like I said, it was like participation then.
You could hold your own.
Correct.
Yeah.
And then as the sports started shaving away, I was great at volleyball because I had, what is so very interesting is I had a crazy serve, but that was it.
That's the best of you.
That was...
But you could score points on serve, so, you know, they put you in at the right time.
Correct.
Yeah.
But, you know, what's funny is fitness was a gateway for scholarships for me. So I looked like, on paper, I was a great all-around student, which translated into a lot of academic success for me. But then when I went to college, it was kind of like I was always battling, hey, I need to work. So there was no physical activity for me. And one day I woke up and I was 200 pounds. And there was no reason, or I couldn't tell why it happened. And then I found out I had fibroids. And the fibroids really played a big part in that because my physical activity was okay. And I was working out with my friend. And at the time, my best friend, we were friends. We had just started being friends then. And we worked out religiously, but I wasn't losing any weight. And then, you know, the depression came and all these things started happening in my life. And I was really, really sad. And I was also really fat. And I was really in a dark place. So I had to address so many issues, but fitness was the final part for me. So I started to see a therapist, and that therapist bridged the gap for me to be comfortable enough to know that I needed help. And help for me just didn't mean, hey, I needed any and everyone. That was the year that I came across your page. And in coming across your page, I was like, okay, well, maybe this is a sign. So I started to follow you. And everything was great. And I said, hey, I want to do something with fitness or whatever. The night before, something happened where I was like, it was the time to set a date. And I met Christina very, very, very out of nowhere. I had known her previously because we had worked together. But at this time I said, do you know the girl? And I was like, wow, this is so serendipitous. So we talked, and the next day she showed up at my session. And it was like, wow, this is so great. I could still remember that day because it was such a great experience. And we were all getting to know each other all at once. So fitness turned into okay, this is great. I can do this. So eventually it just, out of nowhere, something blossomed, and it has not stopped since that day.
That would have been, 2019-ish?
2017, actually.
17, yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's been that long.
Yeah.
Because Avery is 1.5. I was pregnant for 9 months. That was almost 2 years ago. The pandemic, yeah. And I was 3 years in the game at the pandemic.
Okay.
So since then, I've been training for the half. I've ran the half. And now...
Crazy people. Them crazy people.
And now it's just trying to find my place. Because I think now I'm in that... I'm hungry for something, and I know what that something is. So I can't tell you that I don't. But it's like, how do I curve out that time to commit to this thing? So I think the only reason why I did the half was because it was on my list of things to do. And I always said that I was going to do it. So November came, and this was the November before I found out I was pregnant. Okay. So I started to train really hard, and I was in the best shape of my life.
They say that's when it has happened.
Best shape. And then I find this man. Let me tell you about this man. Wonderful, excellent. He was all in my space, and he was in love. And then boom. Someone's doctor called me and was like, "Hey."
Someone's doctor.
It wasn't mine. Hey, what's up? So you're pregnant, and I said, "Why? Wait." And I couldn't believe it because at that point we had been together. We were living in a little COVID bubble. And we were so in love. And it was so fun and it was passionate. And I said was, like, it's not still, but it's been such like a whirlwind journey. And looking back on it, it was like Avery was made in love.
Yeah.
That is one thing I will always tell her. She was made in love because at that point, I wasn't sure. So I wasn't sure what was going on with me, and I wasn't sure if this is what I wanted. But I knew that Freddie is what I wanted. And Freddie knew that I was what he wanted. And in that desire, we made someone who is such a wonderful person.
You got to tell her that, yeah. Tell her the whole story. Tell her just like that. I love
that's
that.
What I tell her all the time.
So, found out you were pregnant, right? So you didn't run the half that year?
No. So what actually happened was, right before, I had to have a procedure done that stopped me from running the half. So probably the week before the half, I found out I couldn't run. And then...
That's tough after training.
It was a hard pill to swallow.
Yeah.
But, one of the things that I learned is you have to listen.
Yeah.
These things don't just happen because of, like, they're not random. They are intentional. So you have to live in that moment where I was sad. And what actually happened was the week before, I ran a really great number. I have to tell you a secret. I was so skinny. I was this close to abs. I was this close to abs. And I had the little X. I have to share that picture with you. But then, now that I'm looking back on it, my form was trash and in bad shape of my life, but still working on a fitness journey. But the results were in and I was doing great. And then pregnancy happened. So pregnancy for me was it was more than a whirlwind. So I found out in March, and first it started off with depression light. And I didn't know I was experiencing it because I was in a bubble. And everybody was trying to keep me safe. And, we weren't telling anyone. So I'm not a secret kind of girl, but not in a when it's good news, I want to shout it to the mountaintops. Yeah. This was great news. But, you know, you go through that time where it's like, you don't know if the baby has a heartbeat or if this
you kind of want to make it out of that first trimester first. Yeah.
And I think the fear of what would happen debilitated me to the point where I could not celebrate anything. So it was like so many things had happened in the first 3 months that I didn't even start experiencing morning sickness until after my birthday, when we got the call that everything was safe.
Okay.
Then after that, it was like depression medium, but still happy. So I was figuring out a lot about my life, and I was working during the pandemic. So it was like, I still had to go to work, but I still wanted to be fit, but I had all these complications. Yeah. And then in July, I got put on bed rest.
This is what, 4 months in?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it was hard because they tried to give me a cerclage, and it failed because there was nothing to tape together or tie together. So then I was like, okay, now I am so fearful of everything.
Yeah.
It was so hard. Looking back on that, I was like, I think that's the first time I've authentically talked about it. And I feel very emotional because I still remember waking up at night being so scared because I felt like my body had failed me. And I there were so many things going on. I had to do so many things to keep her safe. And I felt like I couldn't make it happen. And that fear, I felt that fear for so long. And it was hard. And my friends had to watch me do it. And they had to surround me. And one of the hardest things was trying to pretend that I was okay. Because I didn't want to ruin pregnancy for myself. But pregnancy is hard. Yeah. So I lost a big part of me, so I couldn't work out. And I wasn't going anywhere because, my body could not. They weren't sure if my body could hold the baby. So 6 months at home, we had an end date. So she had to make it to 27 weeks. Mm-hmm. So we had to start making plans for 27 weeks. Once she was 27 weeks, that was a viable baby. Mm-hmm. We could see it through. Mm-hmm. We could make it. So I was praying, and I was talking to God, and I was journaling. And, I know everyone was praying around me, but the hardest part was the wait. I didn't have anything to buy my time because TV had no longer. I was not interested. So everything was mounted so high. Mm-hmm. And then when the 27th week came, I breathed for the first time. And then 30 weeks came, and then 31, and then 40 came. And it was like we had to pick a date. Now, 2 years prior, my Grammy had died. And one of her birthday was one of the dates. And I said, of course, because I want to honor somebody who I loved so much. And honestly, one of the best days of my life. We had experienced so much highs and lows in this pregnancy that this felt like the beginning of something fresh and new. So at this time, like, Freddie and I had been together, I think 2 years at that point. Mm-hmm. And I'd fallen in love with his family. I had fallen in love with him. So I had formed this community. Mm-hmm. And they literally circled around me and held it down. So now it was like, okay, we're going on to the other side. Boom. We have the baby. Great day. I lost 2 liters of blood, passed out during the C-section. She wasn't breathing. Then they don't tell me this because I kissed a purple baby and I didn't realize. I thought this was normal. Then as soon as they released me out of the room, I'm saying to them, I want to see my baby. You have to bring my baby. And they are feverishly working around. Freddie was in the room and he was trying to capture the moment, but still making sure I was okay. So I was shivering and Freddie was holding my hand and I was like, can you ask him about the baby? What time do I get this baby? Baby. So they're rolling me back to the room and they stop by the nursery. And I see this little person and I know that God is a faithful God because in the midst of the things that I could never foresee, he did that. And my family did that. My friends did that. Because that was a time where I was not sure. Mm-hmm. And I had so much love around me, and it was still so dark. But that was my breath of fresh air. Little did I know it didn't last long. But now, almost a year and a half in, you don't remember any of that, except to tell people, like, it's hard, but it's worth it.
Yeah, you remember enough to tell the story and
Yes.
and relive the emotions to a degree, right? And
yes.
then you say you still want more, so true, girl. I mean, listen, I ain't got no kids yet, right? So listening to the story for that whole story, and then for you to say you still want more, it has to be worth it. Like,
it is worth it.
Because you telling me that's like from you telling me you had to wait 27 minutes. Like I don't know. I am very impatient, and I don't want to say negative Nancy because that isn't the right word, but I'm like I'm very good at running scenarios through my head with the worst outcome at the end. So
you're me and I am you.
Okay. So
we
on that. So
yes.
if you telling me the story, but I don't have that connection to a child yet, you know. So I have the faith that you are pouring into me now that
yes.
it has to be worth it. Like for you to go through all of that and be like, I would do it again. Yeah, I know.
People told, like everyone who told me about motherhood and pregnancy, they said, you forget. Now, at that point, everybody was being very much flowers and daisies, and that's so great. You guys can make a great connection and whatever. Now, I have 11 nieces and nephews.
We had a lot.
So I know what babies are like, and I know what pregnancy is like from someone else's vantage point.
From their experiences, yeah.
So I'd had, at that point, it was like, it seemed like an attainable thing. Yeah. It all seemed like it could work out perfectly. But I'd also had, at that point, I think one of my nephews had really bad allergies, and then another had colic, but it was like very short-lived. So honestly, I had a good viewpoint of pregnancy, but walking in them shoes,
totally different. Yeah.
At the same time that I was pregnant, two of Freddie's family members were pregnant. So we were all going through pregnancy from a different place. So we all had these really different experiences, and it was beautiful, but it was actually it was hard to watch. I was so happy for them because they still were able to, but I was cooped up at home, and the only people I was allowed to see was people who came to see me. And at that point, I always thought, when people say, who your friends are when you get pregnant, I thought that was so dumb. I thought that was so dumb. And then I figured
you realized it, yeah.
Because that is a very secret space. And then you are battling between, I don't know what this person was doing yesterday, but I could tell you, I don't want them in my house. I don't want them because... yeah, there's going to be a couple of laughs and it's going to be great. But do I really want to take on that energy when I'm not doing well right now? Does this person know me that well to know that?
Is it worth it? Yeah.
So all of those questions go through your mind. Pregnancy was beautiful. I just couldn't see it, because I was struggling. But looking back, it was such an amazing time. You are growing fingernails and all these different body parts. I love Juno, by the way. That's where that reference comes from. So you are doing this amazing, magical thing that is literally 1 foot in and 1 foot out. And you don't know it, but you are made for greatness if that is what your destiny is. You are so wonderfully and beautifully made because you have the ability to create something that is bigger than you.
Create life.
Correct. And then, all of the cliche things, sorry.
They're all true, yeah.
Yes. Heart outside of body. Thought it was dumb. Heart outside of body. one of the most beautiful things is watching someone grow, and you don't really have control about what it happened or how it happens, or what happens. But the amazing part is you get to see it in real time. And even when you miss certain moments, you still get the opportunity to hear someone you love retell it. Because I thought seeing a walk was going to be great, right? No, listening to my mommy tell that story is what was great. And I love watching my mommy with her. I love watching my best friend and my sister. Listen, it is the love and excitement that I feel, but on 10, because she's really excitable. And it's so mystical and magical, because when she was in utero, she loved to hear my best friend and my sister. It was like a dance party, and we were all talking. So she would move and talk, and now she feels that same way in their presence. Her 2 Grammys.
I love that.
You can't get between them 3. Aww. Like, they are 10 out of 10. Her favorite people. Me first, though. Me first.
I was gonna say, so where do you fall?
Me first.
Okay.
Me, daddy.
For other reasons, though.
When it comes to foolishness, let me tell you, daddy is a good time. Daddy is a good time. But they have their own relationship, and now she's starting to be sweet on him. A little bit jealous. Just a little bit jealous, because you remember all of them. Anyway, we're not going to talk about that.
She remember that.
So what do you think is going to be like the hardest part for you? I want to know that.
I think just because I'm a bit of a control freak, learning to accept that I'm going to have to not be in control of everything. And my therapist actually told me that's rooted in deeper issues, but we ain't going to that. But I mean, I don't think I'm like obsessively controlling, but I do like structure, and I like planning my days, my weeks, and I like knowing what's going to happen. And so I think just from all of the stories that different moms have told me about their experiences with kids, and like how it's like some days you got to roll with it. Like, you wake up and you plan for this, and the kid is sick, or this is happening, you can't move. And so that's what I'm a bit, I guess, nervous. Or I think for me, it's going to be the hardest part, like just having to learn to let go of some of that structure and control for at least for some time, until I can get some of it back. But I think that's really it. I'm like in love with my niece, so I know that like every time I hold her and she looks me in my eyes, I'm just like, oh my god, stop. So like my ovaries, they start kicking.
Listen,
Yeah.
I wonder what she would one of those would look like at our house.
And like she's just like so sweet, and then she cries, and I'm like, all right, hey, go back
here, mommy, okay?
Like, why are you crying? Don't do this. So I mean, but I think it's gonna be a bit interesting, because Ethan has a daughter already. I have a stepdaughter who's about to be 16, so it's gonna be interesting to see him now come out of the hasn't held a baby in 16 years. 16 years or so I think I also have that I guess good side of he's been through it before, and for the first couple of years of her life, it was just them two. Her mom was in school, so I trust that he kind of know a little thing or two. He may be a little old school, but
listen, that little bit of vantage point is great, because I think that I'm also a control freak.
Okay,
so I was already when I can live in my truth, and I said a control freak, because at that point in my life, if it did not fit in my fitness schedule and my personal schedule, which
if it wasn't on the calendar, it wasn't happening.
Who you are speaking with. Listen, and I want to tell a story because it's so funny. Freddie and I had a first date planned. It went great. But our second date was a week later. So in that week, we had not talked a lot. But he had said to me, come over to my house. We could have this, we could do this, whatever, right? So in my head, that was not a formal invitation. But in his head, it was a formal invitation. We still talk about it to this day. Now, we talked a lot in that week, but we never said this time or this place or whatever. So I was working that day, and I worked and I worked and I worked, and then the time came, and he messaged me, and I was like, hey, what's up? Didn't know we had plans. So he was hot, but it wasn't in my calendar. And I had stuff to do.
It wasn't an official invitation.
No. And you know what was so funny? He is into fitness as well. So he works out religiously as well. But I'm the early morning riser, and he's a night owl. So all the time, you know, it's interesting. It worked out great now. But back then, that used to cut my head. Because it was always fun to stay up late. But then at 5 a.m. when
you
it was
gotta
time,
get up, yeah. You gotta take the baby outside and get up.
And that was when I was training for the half. So it was almost like
torture.
So in my control freakness, having a baby, let me tell you, you have to shed so much of that.
So you could verify that that can be rough.
Yeah. No, let me tell you, it wasn't rough to shed it, you know. It's the hard lesson that you are not in control.
It's in your show no more.
And no matter, I think what was so fun was the first couple of weeks, she was so good. She ate, she overate, she slept. She did everything on schedule. And then one day we had colic. But the first couple of weeks, it was like, you don't remember it. But I will say, we had a great time because she was an easy baby to manage. And we had all hands on deck. But then, so her first set of cousins were born 2 weeks before her. So his mom was committed to go into those babies first. And when it was my turn, it was like this balance of, okay, who needs to be where? This logistical nightmare that I didn't really have to consider. I just needed to know what I needed, which was even hard because at this point, I had no idea. So it was like you relinquish so much power that you are so focused on someone else that I don't think the lesson itself is hard. It's just how quickly it happens.
Yeah.
Because even in pregnancy, you learn that even in the most beautiful situation, even as easy as it is, some things will happen. You just have to be present enough to know, am I okay? Do I need help? Because I think one of the most interesting things is I don't know how to ask for help.
I struggle with that too.
And you have to know.
Yeah.
I paid an OBGYN. That OBGYN was my best friend's cousin. Great doctor. Excellent doctor. Available to me 24 hours a day. I was a high-risk pregnancy, but I still would cry in silence.
You would struggle to reach out, yeah.
I was paying her.
Yeah.
Even my therapist, it took me a couple of weeks because during pregnancy, I had to get another therapist, right? And I would not tell her all of the ins and outs because I did not want to appear weak. Even my friends, they knew I was struggling, but I was trying to hide it so much that it was so hard. So then one day I was realizing.
Do you feel like you're better with it now?
No.
No.
Nope.
Okay. So you still got to work on that.
Yeah. It's a work in progress because you still think you are able to.
Yeah.
I am able to. If I had 36 hours in a day and a living nanny and a maid and a driver and somebody else to do everything other things.
A duplicate of you
correct.
as well, yeah.
Correct.
So how do you feel? So you're back in, you feel like you're back in a good fitness routine now after the journey of training for the half, having to stop for the procedure, finding out you're pregnant, COVID, all of these whirlwinds of things, being on bed rest, having Avery, navigating motherhood, calling on your village, struggling to ask for help. Tell me where in that space, or at what point after having her did you feel like you got back into, you know, finding yourself in your or a bit some sense of the routine that you had pre-pregnancy, or do you feel like you're still kind of navigating that? Because I see you online, like you look very consistent in the gym on your fitness routine and it, you know, getting it. And so talk me through like what was that process of getting back to that for you?
So I could not work out until I was 5 months postpartum.
5 months, okay.
I was anticipating the moment. I breastfed for the first 3 months, another hard journey. And then, so I was back and forth between, do I have postpartum or do I not? So I did. And then one day I woke up and it was gone. Or it had reached a level where I realized what was happening and the cloud was moving. So on that day, I actually got to work out for the first time with Christina. So we picked up where we left off. So we were talking through pregnancy, of course. And she was so excited and I was so excited. But then I started to have to work out again. Awkward. And I thought it was going to be like so great and so easy. And, you know, because the baby is asleep all the time, right? Wrong. Let me tell you, going back to work was hard. But going back to work and then coming home and she's sleeping, harder. And then getting up while she's asleep at 5 a.m. to go work out for no reason at all, or what appears to be no reason at all. It was rough the first couple of weeks. And then I started to train for the half again. And, you know, I was training with a group for a while and I had a support system, but then everybody either got injured or they just were training in a way that wasn't consistent with my life. So I had to train alone, but I didn't stop. I didn't stop working out. So I didn't stop hitting the gym and I ran and then things got really tight. So I was a new mom, getting up at 4:45, running, going to the gym for an hour, coming home to get ready for work and get the baby ready for school, and then going to work all day and being someone's manager at that point, and coming home to a baby either asleep or I had 2 hours of baby work to put in. So it was so difficult because you are not in control. No. There's no question about it. The only thing you can control is yourself and your temperament. And I always thought like, oh, it was going to be easier because we had all hands on deck, like I said, but it wasn't, because my mom is 72 and she has a limit. Yeah. And even if she doesn't recognize a limit, I do. And I don't want to burn out. His parents had just retired. And even though they are willing and able to help, they have other grandkids. Yeah. So there's so many factors that went into where I am today. Consistency was easy for me to pick up because I was disciplined.
Yeah, you had that before.
Yeah. But also now I have another person to manage. And in that other person, if her temperament is wrong, I have to stay home. And, you know, I never train on Mondays. For some reason, Mondays just aren't my day, right? Sometimes I have to train on Mondays because if Avery isn't in the right space, I don't want to leave her with somebody who may not understand what happened the night before. And even when someone loves you or they have cared for you before, there's nothing like a mother's love. And I wholeheartedly believe that it is my sole responsibility to ensure that she's in the correct space no matter where I leave her. So it was easy to be consistent for myself and to put myself in a position to be able to. But it was hard. Is it worth it? It is. It is. I think the last year of my life is a testament to the fact that I was somebody who could get up at 5 a.m. and work a full day and, you know, commit to something. Now, food is hard for me because I don't know about you. Well, I do know a lot about you. You can prep really well. I ain't good at that. And, you know, it's harder because now I have to cook lunch for her 3 days a week. And her dad does the rest, right? And that seems, 2 days. And that seems like nothing, right? But it's very hard to find time to cook a meal for one little person. And my baby eats. So you can't just give her like a little cheese stick and something you throw together.
She ain't food.
No. When she was done with the bottle, she was done. At year 1, she was like, hey, we're over this. So consistency for me did come easy, but it's still a very much work in progress because I am not in control of my schedule. And all in the mix of this, I got a new job. So last year, I think I probably was in July. So December, January, February, March, April, May, June, July. 8 months postpartum. 3 months into working out. I said, yeah, I'm leaving my job. And I started a new journey. And this one is hard. But you know what here's what I realized. There are so many different facets to being a mom. Like, I have a commitment to her, but I also have a commitment to my boyfriend that I cannot leave behind.
And to yourself.
Correct. I have a commitment to my friends. And the beauty of it is my friends realize that I now come with a baby. So even when we didn't do funny, or even though we never really did wild things or like go drinking and stuff like that, no matter what happens, I say, hey, the baby got to come. They don't care. The only thing I haven't found yet is a gym where I could rest the baby down and go forward. But I'm working on it. I'm going to start asking people.
And we can make that a space. Coming soon.
Listen, I need that in my life. How do you think that you are going to make the transition into motherhood? You know, besides the whole controlling thing, like let's say you can release it, right? What do you think the hardest part is going to be besides that? Like, do you feel, because you're an entrepreneur, I have to clock in.
I think that's gonna be, I mean, I've watched some of my friends in the fitness space with kids that have, you know, careers training and managing spaces. And, you know, the babies come with them. Like, they got 8 strollers in the gym. And so I'm like, as long as I feel, I can't say that I know that I will feel 100% comfortable with it. As long as I do. And when that time comes, if I do, I know Ethan's, like, I know we're good at figuring stuff out. Like, we're very sit down, let's plan it out. How is this going to work? What's the schedule going to be? Like, I'm not worried about that aspect of it. But, yeah, I think I can be like, you, baby, come with me. Wherever we're going to work out, you're going to sit there. We're going to put on some nursery rhymes on the TV and call it a day, you know?
I follow Tia Tomei. She is Claire Tomei. Oh, I'm watching that baby turn into a fitness guru.
About to come out fitted and all that. But I think that's the, like, and then, you know, of course, for years, people have been like, oh, you got, like, this is crazy, this is insane. Just in any type of activity while pregnant, people think is like, you're going to hurt. Like, it's like, no, she ain't just that working out. How long she working out? Her whole life.
Listen.
And as long as her and her doctor and she feel good, we can't talk on that. Like, as much as people we may want to be like, look, nah, this may be a bit much. That ain't us.
Nope.
She know her body better than anybody. So I feel like that's the biggest thing, right? Like, through that journey and even after, like, you got to be comfortable and confident in
who you are
and who you are, and you got to go with how you feel and what you feel is best for you.
And one of the things I tell everybody is you are responsible for you. These people who comment and they have these grand ideas, most times I find they are men that have no idea what it's like to be pregnant. And even when it is another woman, she is in this space of what works for her will work for you, and that's not the truth.
But I think that's we can only, and I've realized, like, even from the negative side or the positive side, people can only see you through the lens that they've lived their life through, right? And so that may be huge, that may be tiny, that may be influenced by positive, by negative. And so sometimes, like you said, you have women that may come at you from a sideways angle, but, like, they may say to you, like, what you getting up for, something for your baby needs you at home, or why you doing all of this and so soon. But you're like, I realized in all stuff, like, when it comes to, like, negative or positive, you know, let's call it feedback, but comments or whatever, like, people can only see what you're doing through the lens that or through the cards they've been dealt, right? And through their experiences, their life. And so you got to take it with that grain of salt too. Like, I can't be mad at you for, like, this is how you believe, this is what you believe, this is how you feel based on your experiences, but they ain't mine. So
and then what I realize is going through a public experience, like, I can't imagine, because I follow this girl on TikTok who just had a baby, and she is a trainer. So she's an entrepreneur who takes her baby to the gym. She got kicked out of one gym because she has to bring her baby because she's a single mom. And I feel so, a lot of times I feel so bad for people in the public eye because they're expected to be so perfect. But perfection isn't, that could be a goal and it's a great goal, but it's not within us. Mm-hmm. We're going to make mistakes. And in those mistakes, we learn a lot. So watching her struggle through, like one of her first videos, postpartum, was she can't get anything done. And you know what I said to her? I said, listen, figuring it out is a part of the journey. You have to just, sometimes, some days, there were some points where I just sit down and cry with Avery because you don't know what's going on. This baby don't talk. This baby can't tell you nothing. And even like when I have a rough day at work and I have to check my attitude at the door, she does not care about what happened before this point. Nope. So I have to be in so much control that I almost have to block out so many negative parts because people don't think it's negative, but I've gotten a lot of discouraging comments about being so invested in the gym. And it's almost like, for example, the feedback on the way that my body looks now. So even though I don't look it, I'm the strongest I've ever been. So people are now asking, so why aren't you losing weight? And I said, listen, that's none of your business. Also, it's not on my radar right now. If weight loss was a goal for me, obviously, I've done it before. I know what it's like. So I just feel so bad because we struggle so much with the idea of perfection. Like, oh, she can snap back or she won't.
And we don't know what people are going through internally, or like it may be something medically that is prohibiting someone, or you just don't know. Like, so having someone say those things over and over or at all is like,
it's hard.
It's
hard. It's hard.
I can't say that. I mean, I don't know. I can't say that it happens a lot to me. It has happened where I've had to deal with, people's negative stuff to say, and everybody got opinions. Now I just think social media in general is very washed with negativity. It's like you'll see a video of the cutest little baby running outside, and someone has something. Why does this baby not have on shoes?
What are baby shoes?
I saw a video of baby dancing in the rain, having the best time, and the mom, it was a 15-second clip. The baby was dancing in the rain. The mom was like, I love letting my kids express them. She was having a ball. Someone was like, this baby is going to get terribly ill. What horrible parent. I'm just like, what? It is a 15-second video of a baby in a raincoat, in rain boots, having the time of her life. I'm like, why? Why do you have to negatively, I think that's like trending now. Everyone's looking for the negative in everything. And I'm like, I'm just not here for that.
I think that's one of the hardest parts too, because I do share my journey on my social media pages, honestly, but it ain't for engagement. It's just for a reward later. When I look back on this part of my life, it's gonna look like such a great time. Like, I don't look like I'm having a great time, but really I am. But it's almost like I want a time capsule, and my phone isn't enough for me. I want to remember this is what I thought was the best of me. But it's like, do you know how quick it is to steal someone's joy? And people make it seem like, oh, you shouldn't listen to them and brush it off. Yeah. But honestly, if I'm proud of something, I want to post it to social media. I think that one of the weirdest things is how people make it seem like you are weird for feeling bad that someone commented negatively. No.
That's human.
It is.
As much as we want to say, don't care what people think and don't focus on that, it's unhuman to say that negative comments said directly to you do not affect you in some way. Even if for the moment you have to process it, feel bad about it, and then decide to push it aside.
Even if it's constructive, it's still hard to hear.
It is.
It is hard to hear.
Yep.
And even when I sit with the negative stuff, sometimes I don't delete, or it'll be like a DM that I will answer cheekily and move on with my life. But sometimes 2 years later, sometimes I think about that. Because it's just hard for someone to feel that way about me when all I'm doing is authentically being myself. And it's weird. Fitness adds a layer to your life, positive and negative, because I feel like then people think that it's an invitation for you to comment on what I'm doing or why I'm doing what I'm doing. That is none of your business. You know what I mean? That is none of your business. Stay on my business. And I'm having a great time with these people that I've carved out in my life. And we've figured this out for me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why is that your concern? And I can't, that's why I say I feel so bad for public figures, because it's like, they just want a normal Instagram like me.
I do think that a lot of the ones that I've talked to realize that they've accepted that it comes with the territory,
Mm-hmm.
and they have to have that guard up in a sense that I'm not going to let these things like affect the way that I see myself,
Mm-hmm.
and affect the way that I move. And they like, it is this kind of, a lot of them are, you know, attached to businesses, brands.
Mm-hmm.
It's a tie to their work. And so sometimes having to look at it from a space of that, like, this is my work, like, this is not, these people aren't, they don't pay my bills, they don't,
Correct.
I don't engage with them on a regular, and like, they add no value to my life. Like, why am I,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not allowing myself to give them
That
more than
power.
the second of me reading this
Mm-hmm.
comment and then deciding to delete it or block the person. Like, I went on a blocking spree when people have too much to say. I'm like, I'm not even gonna respond to you. Like, just why you here if you have just so much to say? Like, negative. Like, just don't be here. You don't have to worry about it.
So how does it feel sometimes to get those kind of comments, and then do you just let it go?
You mean, like I said, I think about it sometimes. I'll read it. Sometimes I try to not give it too much energy. It would be wrong, or it would be wrong for me to say that it doesn't get to me sometimes, or get under my skin. Sometimes I'll mention it to Ethan, and I'll let him say his thoughts, which usually it's be
Mm-hmm.
like, you know, insert F word here, and and we'll kind of laugh about it, brush it off. So I tend to vent about it, and then, but I don't give the person that energy. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
it's just not worth it to me. So I go and block, delete, all of that. Like, because my thing is, you could think it, but the
Mm-hmm.
fact that you took the time to sit and write to me, or write under something, like you said, it's something that I may be proud of or celebrate,
Mm-hmm.
something that just didn't invite you to comment,
Mm-hmm.
or invite you to leave your opinion. Like, you could have your opinion, that is fine. You don't have to share it. Like,
Listen,
that's the biggest thing. Like, especially if you know, and you know that a lot of people are doing it from a place of they want a reaction,
mm-hmm.
or they want to get under your skin. I think that's also a trend now, right? People are intentionally negative to get reactions and get engagement and get people like rallied up.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, that ain't what I here for. So this ain't a part of the script.
Listen, so how do you feel like you control that, like the narrative of your social media? Like, how do you know the tip you on? Like, what are the positive notes that you try to exude? Because I think, one of the things I want to be is an influencer, right? But not like, maybe micro.
Okay.
1 or 2 clothing brands here or there.
Okay.
So how did you decide this is what I want to do and this is how I'm going to do it?
That side kind of happened. Like, I honestly don't like the word influence. I've accepted that I'm in that space, but I don't really like it.
Beloved, you are an influencer.
I don't really like it, but I think it happened kind of naturally. Like, it wasn't on my radar. It wasn't like I want to represent brands and stuff like that. Just kind of, if someone reached out and it aligned, I was like, okay, cool. And then it got to the point where I was like, okay, well, I do want to work with this brand, or it would be cool to work with this brand.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, from that standpoint, it's work, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's work that I enjoy and I'm passionate about, or it's really cool, it's fun, but it is still work. And so it is sometimes a balancing act of, I want to be true to who I am.
Mm-hmm.
I also want to represent these people in a good light. And so in that space, you have to kind of be careful of how you snap back and like what you're saying too negatively. Honestly, I would say the last 5 years, I haven't had too many run-ins with like negativity and backlash. Every now and then, 1 or 2 people pop up and got too much to say, but it's not I wouldn't say it's a trend, like, or at least since, the last 5 years or so, it hasn't been a thing. But I think just deciding the types of content that I want to put out, that's a big thing. And just not feeding into it, being intentional about removing those people that are people seeing it. And like, I've got on stories and been like, look, if you in this category of bashing and having too much to say without being asked, like, you ain't gonna be here no more. And so you kind of got to put that little fan. I'm like, all right. So if you want to still be here, like, stay in line, you know?
Yikes.
So, but I think that's a big thing. Like, I think for me, there's been balancing. Like, I've always had like the same type of content, I think. When I got into the space as a fitness professional, like, my content hasn't really strayed from what it is. So that, like, the consistency and just, yeah, and like, I know the people that I'm speaking to, and I am looking at what they're engaging with and doing what feels good too. Sometimes I just do stuff because I want to. Like, it may not be for anybody to like or love, and so it's a balance between that. Like, stuff I enjoy, stuff that I know is adding to my brand, my business, and stuff that I'm obligated to do through contract or whatever. But so keeping a good mix of all those things, and a big thing for me is still enjoying it. Like, I don't want to be feeling like I'm forcing myself to do it. So that's a big thing. Like, and like, I think building communities or building a community, right, and feeling like you have people that are genuinely like rooting for you, that's a big thing. Because if you don't have that, then it's gonna feel like, why am I? What's the point? You know. So I think that's the biggest thing. Is finding. We talked about it earlier. Finding what you know, your niche. Like, what who are your people, and then like whether that's thousands, hundreds of, you know, a handful. Like, it doesn't have to be crazy numbers, but like that community is everything. That quality community is everything.
Correct. And I think what I want to say on camera, that I think that during the pandemic, it was beautiful watching you develop into this social media mogul, because it was actually very amazing. You don't like the word influencer.
I don't.
But I will tell you this. You are.
I influenced you to buy stuff.
The amount of cash that I dropped on things that you wore or items that you suggested, it was almost like, and it made sense to me. So being your authentic self really, really worked. So even knowing you off camera or like in more personal spaces, I think that being an influencer in this space, it made sense to me, because I saw your results in real time, where I was like, you know, when fitness influencers do those 30-second clips of do this workout next. No, I'm not doing that workout, because that's dumb.
Yeah. You didn't actually do this workout.
You picked this up from someone else. I follow 10 fitness pages.
Yeah.
Sis, you didn't do this.
Yeah.
But I think it's great to watch a brand like yours, because it makes it feel like it's a real life attainable goal. But also knowing how you actually did it, it's also very, very hard. So I have questions about, wow, how are you doing all of this? Because not just saying that, not because we're cool or whatever, but I think that it's a pretty notable journey these last couple of years.
Thank you.
Literally, before the pandemic, I knew you. And we were at one place. And then the pandemic hit, and it was gradual growth then. But I feel like maybe it's just me. But the pandemic was like a big boom. It was like, it was a takeoff. It was so much things happening at once. And I literally was looking back, because I still get the notifications of, oh, this was happening and this was happening. And all the pictures of morning moves and all the actual products that you produced and the influence that you had on like fitness wear and stuff like that. How, like, that was a big deal. That was a really big deal.
It's crazy, like, to hear you say it, because in the moment, and I guess because I'm so like, okay, what's next? I don't think about it like that. It's always like, all right, what I've done. I won't say what I've done doesn't matter, but I don't think about what has happened. It's always like, all right, what am I working towards right now? Like, what's the next big thing? But yeah, I mean, I think like you said, the biggest thing is, I think, being prepared for the opportunities when they come, and then just staying true. Like I literally, my content a lot of times is just me recording my workouts. Like, I very rarely will set up and be like, all right, I'm going to shoot this video for this. It's literally just, all right, I'm working out anyway, 5 to 6 days a week. I could just film clips of my workout or my whole workout, and that's content. Enough. Yeah. And I got to work out in workout clothes, so that makes sense, right? Like, I'm wearing something to work out in. The products came out of the pandemic, right? The bands and all that stuff. We were stuck at home, working out at home. that made sense.
Such a great, let me tell you, one of the greatest. I still have all of those bands.
Every time I have a sale, I see your name pop up buying something. I feel like you literally bought everything.
I have had everything. And I still, the ball is still in the back of my car. The stepper I only use when I come to classes with you and Clee. Mm-hmm. But I use them. I really use them. So like the longer resistance band, that one, I use that actually to warm up every single time.
The purple one, eh?
Yes. Yeah. So it to me, that was a great move. And those things, they last forever. So once you take care of them, which I don't, which is why
you'll be buying new things.
Okay. And you know what I realized too? Because I love their brand so much, it made it easier to support you. Because I think it's more than just me. I could like you, but I will never ever spend money on the idea of what you're doing. So true. I've seen a lot of people develop a brand or whatever, and it honestly don't suit my life. But I've given away so many of your brands. I've literally bought everything.
You bought your friends stuff, yeah.
Every time something happens, I buy a glass. Mm-hmm. I'm there because I feel like investing in brands like yours, like I have this new, I got into Market, and from there I found like a lot of people out there, they actually have brands that make sense for me as a fitness person. So it was like during that time, you were literally, and still to this day, you still make a lot of sense to me. So I think it's such a great thing to watch.
Thank you. But yeah, I mean, it really wasn't, I wish that I could say that I sat down and was like, this is all the things that I want to accomplish and check them off. But it kind of just happened naturally. The pandemic, the show was Ethan's project. He was like, I have this idea. Let's see if we can get the network, take it on. They did. The products were like, I wanted to start YouTube. And I was like, okay, YouTube would be a great way to help promote the products.
Correct.
And yeah, so it just was kind of like I said, we're figuring things out as we go. Then this works, and maybe some things work, some things didn't, some things stuck, some things didn't, and yeah, just embracing like, okay, well, this did work. Now, how can we add to this, or how can we make this make more sense, or and then I like having the support of so many. I didn't expect people to like support it to the extent that they did, especially through the pandemic, but. It was great. It was the virtual classes came out of the pandemic.
I've done many of those.
Yeah, the challenges took off through the pandemic and still going. So, it just really was, all right, testing the waters, seeing what the demand for stuff was and what was working, what was sticking, and then, okay, what's next?
Listen, and it's actually, you could see the pivot in you. You could see it. Because even watching you doing little things, like, because you started off with the small bands. And it was like, okay, the small bands are great, but let's do something else. Okay, the challenge is great this time, but what about this next time? You literally could watch it. And that's why I say it was really an amazing journey to watch, because not knowing you and then getting to know you, I think made me more invested in whatever it is that you were doing. So it was like some things wouldn't have worked for me. But what worked so good that I was fully on board with whatever you were doing. And then eventually we did morning moves. And, to this day, you said that I did that morning moves, but I didn't remember that it was Ethan asking me the questions. Also, because your brand so tightly together.
Yeah, it was it.
I thought literally, I was like, wow, for true.
That's Ethan's show, girl. I was just the talent.
What? I was like, wow. So this is our first sit down. Yeah. That was actually very, very
I remember watching the episode and being there, hearing you talk about your story. But yeah, it was Ethan interviewing you, yeah.
And I was like, wow.
We worked out, yeah.
Yes. Yes. So we had been so adjacent to each other.
Yeah.
But always, it's been a great 5 years. I think, because always Team Bowflex Barbie, because when there was something going on, I was definitely down for the count.
Yeah. I always know it. Like, let me send it directly to Indera.
Come on. I haven't something.
You need to be there.
Come on. Actually, yeah, the last step class that I went to, I was pregnant.
You told me.
Mm-hmm.
I remember you when you wrote me back. I was like, what?
I was like, wow. And looking back on that now, I still have that footage to this day.
Yeah,
I was so uncoordinated, but it was such fun.
It is.
I always have a good time when I come to like a class or something and I bring my best friend Leanne.
You and Leanne. I say whenever Indera buys, she buying too.
Because I'm not going to be awkward
by
alone.
yourself.
I'm not going to be awkward alone.
You did send her by yourself to the last thing, I think, though.
Yeah. Sometimes she'll pop up and say, you know what I want to do? I'm going to do a class. And then she'll just say, okay, great. Or she said, a lot of times when people tell me they want to start a fitness journey, I say, okay, well, are you going to go to the gym or are you going to go home? If they say home, well, I think these are the products that you should start with. And your brands are always in that starter package. Because I feel like if I'm going to support a brand, there's going to be one that I could actually say, I know this works. So use this and it makes sense. So all the things, because I don't know if you remember this, but my first fitness plan was from you. Workouts, food.
How long ago was that?
2017.
Really?
Mm-hmm. I still have that to this day.
Then, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I also remember you actually in the video before I even moved in 2015 or 16, you came out to the beach to the class I had on Goodman's.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to say we even did like a little video after and interviewed a couple people asking how was the class. And you was right there.
Do you want to know how I got there?
How you get there?
Davina.
Yes, the Zeta connection.
Yes. Yeah. Davina was like, hey, my girl's coming to Nassau. Get your tail to this class.
That's
and
crazy.
I said, okay, I'm there. And ever since then,
you've been on the train.
I was sold. And I will say this, when Christina jumped on board, I think that solidified that I thought
that's where you're supposed to be.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And now she could go anywhere. She could go to Jabim. You could go to Jabim. I'm going to be on the website. I'm going to be clicking stuff because I'm going to pick a few things up. Because I think y'all two were such a great team.
I tell her ready to duplicate her. Long time. I can need the original. She could leave the duplicate there.
Listen, I don't think my husband's going to like that. But you know.
You never know. I won't say that he wasn't in the thought process for that.
Listen, you think, will he notice? I hope he'll notice.
He's a busy man, you know. But yeah, I feel like I told her she set the standard really high, and I think because we met in like the right before the pandemic and through the pandemic, I think we grew in that space together. Like she grew as an instructor, finding her space, finding her like what she wanted to do. Mm-hmm. And she gave me the confidence to know that I could work with people. I'm very weird with people. And like, so for her being that first person to like, I allowed into my space in that way, like into my business, and for her to be so committed and dedicated, it's like, that was my expectation for people. And I was sadly, you know, smacked into the reality that like, that don't come often or easy. Yeah. And so, yeah, man, I tell her I'm ready to duplicate her because it gotta make sense. Yeah.
Watching y'all together, actually, I think like it makes so much sense. It makes a lot of sense.
Christina, if you're watching this, it makes sense, okay?
It makes loads of sense.
Tell her you come too. He's invited. All right, Indira. Before we get to the almost end, you know, I like to play this or that. So I got a couple questions. We're going to answer. Running outside or the treadmill?
Running outside.
I knew that. I prefer none, but treadmill probably just because I'll do it like right before or right after a workout.
Listen, my knees would be trash after that.
Treadmill? Yes. You need a good, nice impact absorbent treadmill, that's all.
They do have one, and let me tell you, my knees still is because I had shin splints when I was training for the half, so I really had to rehab my knees. So 0 to 10. I'm
not a runner at all anyway, so none of them really happening.
I want to tell you a secret. I'm not either, but go on.
Whatever. You prefer HIIT or circuit training?
Oh.
If you had to choose between one or the other.
I can't. Circuit.
Okay.
Circuit.
I think like lately I've been getting more into HIIT. So we can go with HIIT right now.
HIIT is like if I need...
You're short on time. Yeah.
It's great, but I still want to sit down for 90 seconds. I want to be
I can eat
seated.
at 60.
Yeah.
All right. Do you prefer stair stepper or the elliptical?
None. 0. No.
You have to pick one.
No, thank you. Stairs.
Me too.
Yeah.
I mean, I like both, but
No.
stair stepper, I feel like I get a better bang for my buck. Battle ropes or slam balls?
Slam balls.
Same.
More. I want to be aggressive.
Do you prefer to run alone or with a group?
Alone. Nobody talking
You want you
to
and
me.
your music.
Shh. Don't talk.
You could not talk and run with a group though.
People, all they do is talk.
Oh, there. Okay.
All they do is talk.
I would rather, if I'm going to run, I'd rather run alone too.
Because I want to die in silence.
In my thoughts, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You prefer morning or evening? I know this.
Morning.
Morning. Me too.
Mm-hmm.
If you had to choose between a pre-workout drink or a post-workout protein shake, what would it be?
This one is hard.
Yeah. Not for me. I'm a pre-workout girl. Like,
No, but I need that. I need
you
that
need something
quick.
after.
I need that quick.
I ain't gonna make it through the workout to get the protein shake if I don't have the pre-workout.
See, life hack. I could drink a big cup of black coffee and go about my business.
That don't be enough for me. I could drink coffee when I get up at 5, and if I'm training at like 7:30 after clients, I could take pre-workout. Like,
No, I
that
can't.
coffee don't count if
No.
it's not.
Yeah. So coffee is fine, but if I take pre-workout at 7 p.m., there is no sleep on my horizon.
Oh no, I'm not taking it in the evening, but I'm saying like I could drink coffee in the morning and then take
night?
pre-workout take pre-workout a couple hours later, like, because the coffee ain't really ain't cut it.
I don't know what you want to do because pre-workout, like I so accustomed to it. I tried the other day to go without. I can't do that. But then, okay, pre-workout.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's the answer right there.
Pre-workout.
Foam roller or massage gun?
Why are these so hard?
Oh my gosh, I don't feel like these are that hard.
Yes, they are. Because it depends. If it's them flat foam rollers.
Without the
massage
ridges?
gun, yeah, I like the ridges. The ridges, them trigger foam rollers, they so nice.
I'm not a huge fan. I have a vibrating foam roller that is life-changing.
It is?
Mm-hmm. It has the trigger point thing on it, and it also like vibrates.
Wow, I must try that.
Mm-hmm.
So that, yes, foam roller.
I've heard foam roller. Like, unless someone else is using the massage gun on me, I don't like using a massage gun on myself. I'm weird like that. I'm like, I'm gonna really enjoy it. I need to like be just laying there and someone like,
yeah, I get that.
Yeah, instead of me having to like actually use it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I know this one. It's the easy one. Resistance bands or free weights.
Free weights.
Yeah, give me the weight. That's my last one. All right, Indera. So before we close out, I want you to look into your camera. Two things I want you to do.
Okay.
Well, not two things I want you to do. I want you to say. I want you to tell us one piece of advice you could leave our listeners with. The biggest piece of advice, anything from motherhood to fitness, anything in between that you want to share. And then tell us where we can follow you, connect with you, find you.
You can follow me.
Well, first the advice, Indera.
Wait,
follow instructions.
That's the easy part. I want to do the easy thing
Okay,
first.
sorry.
Okay,
whatever order you want to go in. Go ahead. Sorry, I interrupted your flow. Sorry.
So my advice is take care of yourself, honestly, in every sense of the word. No matter what you do, always be in tune with yourself. Feet to ground. Keep your feet on the ground and do what's best for you. I think as a mom, it's easy to neglect yourself, but I can't be a fitness guru if I am not taking care of myself. And that's in every sense of the word, because you are the most important part of this journey. These kids, your partner, none of it matters if you are not well. And well, in the physical terms, in the mental terms, in the spiritual terms, take care of you. I see you. I know that you are doing your best, but you have to take care of yourself. Take breaks, take them often. Do what you need to do to take care of you. That's always my biggest advice, because it's hard. It is hard to carve out that time.
Mm-hmm. And be intentional about it, yeah.
Because you know what's funny? People don't count fitness as relaxation.
Or self-care, yeah.
Mm-hmm. But sometimes self-care is not easy. It's not fun.
Most times it's not. I'm learning that. My therapist actually told me that a few weeks ago. She was like, there's 7 types of self-care apparently, and fitness is just the physical, right? She's like, yeah, you got that covered, but what about the rest of these? What about the social? What about the emotional? What about, all these other types that I realized like I was neglecting? And so I was very much like, I was physically taking care of myself, but everything else was struggling. So I had to be more intentional about those other stuff. And and so, I mean, and some of those things are uncomfortable, like setting boundaries and and something else. What did she say that really stuck to me? Oh, like taking yourself out of your comfort zone. Yeah. That is actually, as uncomfortable as that is and hard as it is, like that's a form of self-care, challenging yourself. And for some people that may actually be, some of those things overlap, I do think. Like fitness is one of those things. Like when you think about working out, you're stressing your body out, breaking it down, that's uncomfortable. And that's challenging yourself. Yes. But at the end of the day, the benefit is contributing to that whole and you feeling good as a whole.
And I think what people neglect to realize is therapy isn't just about when you are broken. Therapy is for a whole person too. Any type of therapy is for a whole person, because sometimes things just ain't right and you can't tell why it is. But a little sit down with a stranger, I'll always suggest to people, and in taking care of yourself, that's one of the first things that I think I always tell people to address. Because a lot of times we walking around and we making families, but we're broken. We are broken and we are hurting, and we do not think that, you figure you could make it work.
Yeah, a lot of us, we're coping with whatever issues and we're doing a really good job at it until we're not.
Just like your body, you be in survival mode, and the minute your body release all of those things that it no longer needs.
Oh, you hit that point. You just get to that point where it's just like, I can't do it no more. And you're forced to sit down.
And when your body says sit down,
you got to.
Listen, that's why I think taking care of yourself is my go-to always advice, biggest advice, because it's so easy to neglect you in every sense of the word, especially because a lot of women are people pleasers. We just want to do what's right to make everybody else comfortable, but we are very uncomfortable. But if you don't consider you first, because love being a mom, love being a girlfriend, love being a best friend, whatever. But I need to look out for me first. Because if I am not whole, how can I be whole to Freddie?
I tell people all the time, you are not taking care of yourself. You are a disservice to everyone that you love, because they're not getting the best of you.
Correct.
And so I with you on that. Take care of yourself. Like, because if you want to be the best and give the best to the people you love, you have to be good.
Yes.
You can't be
half-stepping.
Yeah, you can't be like shaking the bottom of the bag.
No. And you shouldn't get the last, because it ain't fair to you.
No.
Nobody should get the last, to be honest, but sometimes
somebody got to take the step. And it may be different on different days. I think that's the beauty of navigating whatever journey you want, right? Like you just learn certain seasons. This is what it is.
And I want to just say, like, it's easy to throw things to the side, like, oh, I could do it whenever it gets done. No, sometimes you got to put yourself first, like intentionally, because if you don't make them intentional effort, like getting up at 5 a.m. is not fun.
No,
it is not fun. And I am a morning person, and I could still say to you unequivocally, it is not fun.
It doesn't get fun at all.
No, but if I don't, I can't work out at 7 o'clock.
Nope.
There is no space where I'm prepared to work with.
Me either.
But
I feel you on that. So it's just you know what works, and you know it's worth it at the end of the day. Like it has to make sense for you, and it does. Even though waking up at 4:30, 5 o'clock don't feel good.
It don't.
You know it's what you got. It makes sense. It's a bit uncomfortable, but
it will.
It's worth it.
By 7 o'clock, I am together as a person, and I'm better because of it. So I think, that'll always be my advice, because you deserve that too. And I think that we don't think we deserve it, but you do. You do. You deserve all the great things that life has to offer. You're a great person. You just got to work on being better.
Yeah.
You can follow me on Firestorm Fitness or IKGFS, my personal page. But follow Firestorm Fitness though.
Or follow both.
You know, if you had to choose, because you know, only have one follow left, this or that.
You asking me?
Yeah, this or
Well,
that.
I follow both. This is not for me. I already follow both. Whichever one you told me, I would follow. Firestorm Fitness, because that is your time capsule of all things fitness. But I believe in learning the whole person. So that's why I say follow both.
Yeah, follow both then, because
Yeah.
Decal said that's a great idea.
Yep. So we're going to link them in the description. Thank you so much, Indera, for coming through.
Thanks for
Almost
having
making
me.
me cry too. But
Wow.
I held it together.
Listen, you did great.
Thank you so
because
much.
do you know how awkward it is for someone to be crying in front of you and you don't cry too? Strange.
Well, it's also very awkward for you to cry with the person.
No, it's not. Here's the thing. You know what it was? What's really funny about it is I did not think that you were almost gonna cry.
Oh no, I had to stop. Like I had to
You, like,
look away a couple
yeah,
of times,
oh,
and then I
sure.
wanted to get up and get you tissue, but I was like, I don't want to make the chair noise or stop you from talking. So I just sat. And I was like, okay, when am I gonna? I started thinking, when am I gonna get her tissue?
I didn't know I was gonna cry because we were talking fine before.
Yeah, you talked about that. You talked about it, but not that in depth. I guess
That's why. That's probably why.
Yeah, it may also be a little drinky drink.
Why are you talking about our business? Why are you talking about our business? What drink?
I'm just kidding. But I mean, I think that's the beauty, right? I think a lot of times we don't feel those emotions until we're telling the story and you start to like relive it. So I do appreciate you being open to share. I'm sure that there's people that are watching that could relate to those feelings. I had a guest a couple weeks ago talk about her PCOS journey and similar feelings of like, you know, her body not. I'm supposed to be made to do this thing that I'm having this issue doing, like, you know, and so I can't say that I could fully, I guess, empathize, but I can imagine that that's a tough thing, right? Like to go through, and then you're in the moment, you're in it and afraid, you know? So I think fear in itself it can be debilitating, but now
It's a wild ride.
Now it's affecting so many other things, right? And so I appreciate you sharing your journey, the highs, the lows, the beautiful, and I thank you for coming through.
Thanks for having me. This was great, actually.
I'm sure I'll be seeing you on my internets very soon, as I usually do. And hopefully we'll catch up in person again sooner than later. We can't let all this time go again. I gotta must have one glass again and invite
so
you.
I could come to your little brunch with not you know, like how people say shady little.
Not the little,
So
the big.
no, yeah. Sorry about that. So I can come to your class the next time. Thanks for having me.
I'm actually thinking of planning one soon, so I will definitely let you know. We usually have it in April. It may not be April this year, but hopefully before summer.
Nice.
So I will let you know.
I'll be there. I'll definitely be there. You know, because I get the members. Hey, personal. You coming, right? Not we having something.
You get the special thing. You don't get the general broadcast.
Hey, you coming, right?
Yeah. Well, thank you again, Indera.
Thank you too.
And thank you guys for watching. Thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to give it a thumbs up. And be sure to follow Indera on her platforms, Firestorm Fitness, and her personal page as well, which will be linked below. And until next time, y'all, I will see you on the next episode. And thank you again, Indera.
Thank you too.
Bye.